بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So the second chapter that we're going to have today is Surah Al-Zilzal, and it has one paragraph, and it's one of those small and short chapters in Quran. And if we tell people that we are going to lecture to learn this kind of chapters, which are small chapters at the end of a Quran, specifically like Surah Al-Zilzal, which is a short chapter, they would probably say that these kind of chapters are for kids and they can learn it in elementary school and they can remember it and stuff like that. But actually, these kind of chapters, as I mentioned before several times, these small chapters has the most fundamental topics of Islam and very important concepts about Islam, about monotheist, about the day of resurrection, are in these small chapters. We're gonna start reading these chapters, and at the end of it, I'm gonna ask you a question. Is really this chapter for kids, or is not important to learn this kind of a chapter? Let's keep reading. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها. When the earth is shaken with her shaking. إذا at the beginning of this verse is for condition, and this is a conditional clause. Conditional clause means there is a condition and there is a second part of it, and it says that when this is going to happen, then it will be something like this, okay? The result, the condition and the result. This verse is describing a day in future, and it's telling us about something that is going to happen before the day of resurrection. There are many kinds of this condition in Quran. We became familiar with it in Surah Al-Inshiqaq. Like for example, in Surah Al-Infitar, Surah Al-Takfir, Surah Al-Infitar, Surah Al-Takbir, yes. These also have this kind of a condition. There are many idha, and it means there would be some events in the future before the day of resurrection. These are not in the day of resurrection. These are before the day of resurrection. These are actually those conditions, those events that gonna happen, and the earth and the sky will convert to another earth and another sky to be prepared for the day of resurrection. People usually think that in the day of resurrection, the earth and sky will be completely destroyed and completely gone. It's not correct. Actually, this condition is describing some events that will happen before the day of resurrection, and these are actually preparing the earth and the sky and convert the earth and the sky to another earth, another sky to be prepared for the day of resurrection. So this is one of those conditions, and it says when the earth is shaking. It means before the day of resurrection, there would be a huge earthquake, and the whole earth will start shaking. And it's different from the earthquake that we have now. The earthquake that we have now is only shaking a tiny part of a crust in the earth. So the earth's crust, only a region of it, will start shaking, and that there would be many actually destruction after it. The houses and everything will be destroyed, and this is only a small earthquake. But the actually earthquake that is going to happen at the end of the world is a huge earthquake, and the whole earth will start shaking. Why do I say so? Because it says إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها. At the end of zilzal, it refers to the earth, and it says this is her shaking. This is a specific type of a shaking that the whole earth will start shaking. وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها. And when the earth throws out her burdens. On that situation, when the earth starts shaking, the earth will throw out everything that is inside of it, her burdens. About the burdens, asqal, there are different interpretations. Some of them says that it's the treasure that is inside the earth, the gold, the treasure, all of those valuable metals which are inside the earth. Some people said that these are the dead bodies which are inside the earth. They will all come out from the earth, and some interpretation says that this is the news which is inside the earth. News, what do you mean? I will explain this at the rest of the chapter. When we reach to the verses 4 and 5, I will let you know what's the meaning of news and why does the earth has news in it and what are those news. So generally there are three of these interpretations about athqal, burdens, dead bodies, treasures, and valuable metals and everything which is inside there, and the news. Which one is more accurate? Let's keep reading the chapter based on what we learn at the rest of this chapter. Then we can choose one of these which is more related to the whole chapter. And then it says, وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا. And the human says, what is happening to her in this situation when the earth starts shaking and this is a huge earthquake? Then the human will ask, what is happening to her? What is happening to the earth? What is going to happen that is shaking like this? And the human are scared. These three verses are actually describing some events at the end of the world before the day of resurrection. These are actually preparing the earth and the sky and converting them to another earth and sky to be prepared for the day of resurrection. So this part are conditioned. These three verses are conditioned. Now we are going to have the result at the rest of this chapter. It says, يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. On that day, she will narrate her news. So it says that when the earth starts shaking, on that day, she will narrate her news. It means there are some news inside the earth, and the earth recorded many things inside, and then she will start telling us about those news. She will narrate her news. What are those news? Those news are actually all of our deeds. Whatever that we did on the earth, it's like a recording. It's like a huge device that is recording everything that we are doing on it. And actually, many of us believe that earth is something unconscious, but it's not true. Earth is conscious and it's aware about everything that we are doing, and it's sensitive to good deeds and bad deeds, and it's actually recording everything inside for a specific situation. And that situation, on the day of resurrection, the earth will start talking. Before that, earth starts shaking and it's going to be converted to another earth. That earth is able to talk and it can narrate the news, everything that we did on it. It will start telling all of those things that we did on it. There is another verse in Qur'an which says that on the day of resurrection, your mouth would be locked. There would be a lock on your mouth, and your hands and your feet will start talking. It's very similar to that. And it says that on that specific day, then the earth will start talking. The earth will narrate her news. How can something like that happen? Is it really real? Is it really something like this is going to happen? Like the earth is just a stone and soil and stuff like that. How can she start talking? It says, بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَى لَهَا, because your Lord has inspired her to do so. Of course, the earth is able to talk because God wants her to talk, and God will inspire the earth to do so. Everything that he wants to do, he is very able to do it. And we had this before in Surah Al-Inshiqaq, like when it says that how can something like that happen, the earth and the sky? It says that, of course, the earth and the sky will listen to Lord and they will do whatever that he asked them to do. And it's the same about the earth. The earth will narrate the news, and the earth is able to do so because God wants him, because God has inspired her. So based on verses 4 and 5, we can now go to the verse 2 and read it again. وَأَخْرَجَتِ الْأَرْضَ أَثْقَالَهَا. And when the earth throws out her burden. So the burden, yes, of course, it can be dead body, it can be treasure, it can throw out everything. Like as we learned in Surah Al-Inshiqaq, it's gonna be empty and it will throw out everything. So it can be dead body treasure, but based on the verse 4, the most important thing that earth is gonna throw out is the news. And those news is actually all of our deeds, everything that we did on the earth, and the earth was witness. And on that day, the earth will start talking, and it is witness right now. Whatever that we are doing on it, we have to be aware that there is a huge recording device under our feet, and it's recording everything, and the earth is witness. يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم. So all of these things is happening to do what? Like the earth is start talking and shaking and everything. What is gonna happen? What's the important thing on that day? The important thing is on that day, people will come out scattered to be shown their deeds. All of us, we're gonna come out from the grave scattered, which means in different groups. There is another verse in Quran which says people are like butterflies, and they will go to different direction, and they are scattered. They are like into different groups, and they will see all of their deeds. And what kind of presentation is about our deeds? Is it like a macroscopic presentation? Like we will see only those important things that we did in our life? Like I did pray, I did fasting, I was Muslim, I was a good person, I help in charity. Am I gonna see only those big parts of my life? Only those microscopic things? It says, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى. So whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it. It's not only about macroscopic things. It's about those teeny tiny things that we did in our life. Even atoms weight, those tiny particles, everything that we did, even if it's so tiny like an atom, we will see it. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى. مثقال ذرة means those tiny particles that when the room is dark, there is a tiny light coming to the room, you will see those tiny particles in the earth, in the room, sorry, in the air. You will see so those tiny particles in the air, and they are going to different direction, to random direction. They are very tiny. That is مثقال ذرة. That is a atom weight. That is a very tiny particles that you can see it with difficulties. If we do that tiny, teeny particles, we will see it on that day. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. And also on the other side, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see it. Even if we do something teeny, tiny particle like an atom weight of evil, we will see it on the other life. And it says يَرَهُ. Pay attention to the end of the verse 7 and 8. It says Yarahu. Yarahu means we'll see it. We'll see that deed. Exactly whatever that we did, we will see that thing, not something equivalent to it, not something similar to it. We will see exactly that thing. The nature of whatever that we did, we will see it on the other life, not something equivalent to it or some reward like equivalent to that or something similar to it. It says Yarahu, who means exactly that thing that we did, even if it's an atom way of good or evil deeds. We will see all of them. So whatever that we are going to be shown on the other life, it's not something macroscopic, it's microscopic. And we are going to see all of those tiny actions that we did in our life. This chapter was actually a long and complex sentence. It's only one sentence. It starts with condition, the result of condition, the explanation of the condition. The condition is verses 1, 2, 3. These are conditions, and the result of the condition is verses 4, 5, 6. And the explanation of the verse 6 is verses 7 and 8. Based on that, we can say that the conditions are actually for preparing us to talk about something important. It's actually like an introduction, verses 1 to 3. And in verses 4 to 6, which are the result of the condition, the most important thing is verse 6, because still verses 4 and 5 is gonna prepare us about the important point in verse 6. And after verse 6, verses 7 and 8 are explanations of the verse 6. And based on that, we can say the most important point in this chapter are in verses 7 and 8, because they are the explanations of the result of condition. God started talking about that situation, that horrible situation, and he warned us about that huge earthquake to make us aware, to make us awake, to tell us that something very important, something very huge is going to happen to you on that day. Earth is start shaking and throws out everything that it's in it, specifically the news, because Earth was witness always during your life, and it was recording everything that you did on it, and is gonna the Earth is gonna narrate everything that she recorded. On that day, people will come out from the grave, and they will see whatever that they did in their life, and they will see even those teeny tiny things that they did in their life. So based on this, I'm going to ask you a question. Is this really a chapter for kids? Kids can learn it, of course. It's easy to understand. This is a chapter that is very easy to understand, but the topic that is in this chapter is very important, specifically verses 7 and 8. And it's going to tell us to be careful about everything tiny that you are doing in your life. Sometimes we say that these good deeds is not actually very important. I can postpone it. Someone else can do it. If it's actually helping a poor person with a tiny amount of money, I will pass it to someone else. We say that this is not such a big actually help. But verse 7 is gonna notice us that you have to do even those small things, small good things. Also, on the other side, about bad things, sometimes we say that this is not very actually dangerous things. This is not such a big evil things. I can do this. This is not that hurtful and stuff like that. These two verses together are going to warn us that be careful about all of those small good or bad things that you are going to do. It's been narrated in different interpretation book that there was a man came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked him to teach me Qur'an. And the Prophet asked one of some of those followers around him and told him to learn this to help this man to learn Qur'an. After a while, the Prophet asked about that man and ask his followers, where is the man? Did you teach him the Quran or not? And the followers said that we started teaching him Quran and we started from Surah Al-Zilzal. When we reached to the verses 7 and 8, he said that that's enough. I learned whatever that I needed. And he left. The Prophet said he returned well understood. It means those two verses, verses 7 and 8, are enough for us if we want to actually be prepared for that day. Based on, and of course, based on our ability, we can learn more and more in Quran. But these two verses are very, very important, and they have a very important concept. And it's actually warning us that on the day of resurrection, you're not going to be judged only based on those big and important part of your life. Like, okay, you were Muslim, you did pray, you did fasting, you read Quran, that's enough, you can go to the heaven. No, it's not based on that. It's based on all of those small things and our actually deeds and our thoughts in this life will be reviewed, will be shown actually to us in details. So the most important point in this chapter, human will see his action, even the smallest ones, in the day of resurrection. All people will come together in the day of resurrection to be shown their deeds. Anyone who does an atom ways of good will see it, and anyone who does an atom ways of evil will see it. So let's listen to the Surah Al-Zilzal. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording and then you can ask your question and we can